these are just a couple of tips for behavior management in the remote classroom. And I'm Miriam Cutelis, and this is my colleague and friend, Alita Kio. I've been teaching for 21 years. I'm national board certified. I'm special ed trained. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram. And I also have a education blog and a YouTube channel.
And my name is Alita Kio. I have 19 years of experience, a master's in education, curriculum, and instruction. I used to be coordinator for CETA, which is Changing Education Through the Arts, through the Kennedy Center. And you can follow me on Twitter at Miss Kio Art.
And these are just going to be a couple of tips and tricks on how to manage behavior in the classroom. And the first one is collaborating with your art colleagues. If you have other art teachers in the building, collaborating with district colleagues or other teachers in the building who are not art teachers.
And one thing that Miriam and I found, especially in the remote classroom, but this would absolutely apply to the brick and mortar, is slideshows for all your lessons. And of course, we're all creating slideshows, but when we say slideshows, we mean breaking it down step by step. So each point you're making, you need to have a visual to match that point. Like Miriam says, I love the way she says this. She says, give the kids something to chew on. Give the kids something to chew on. They have a lot of content in their lives already with cartoons, etc. And so if you have a visual for each point, it's going to make a real difference.
Going along the lines of slideshow, we also include in there different things that we need to teach them. For example, we don't assume that they know specific behaviors that we're expecting. One example here is every child had an iPad with a kickstand from the school, and we don't assume that they know that they need to have that sitting on a table during our classes. So we never assume that they know our expectations beforehand. We explain all our expectations. Every slideshow that we have has a welcome screen that we have on and opened when we open our classrooms, our remote classrooms. And in it, we have our name or welcome to your art class so that they know they're in the right place. We also have a little bit of blurb of what materials they're going to need. And we have two guides of what is it that we're expecting, how we expect you to have your mic off and your video on. And again, what time the class begins. For anyone that might pop in there accidentally, they'll know they're either in the right or the wrong place.
And going along the lines of, having those slideshows, again, we are never assuming that the students know what we're going to do today. So one thing you want to make sure is that you have a clear and attainable objective. This objective needs to be very simple, something that the kids can understand in kid-friendly verbiage. So think about how much time you have and what you want to attain during that time frame. So matching the time you have with the objective. So do not have a jam-packed objective. You want to have 2 objectives and that is it. So here's an example of a content objective and a language objective, which is what we always include in each lesson. We were doing a superhero unit, and for the beginning, our only content objective was that the students were going to choose one gesture that we taught them, and they were going to choose how to match clothing to create a new character. And that language objective was describing their outfit.
And going along the lines of providing visuals for everything, we did a lesson on hybrids, animal hybrids. And as a way to explain the concept, we used a math problem. So it's like a crocodile plus a bear is a croco-bear. And that's in Spanish because I teach my class in Spanish. But it's so important to have a short descriptive written visual, but also having images there is literally no excuse for not having visuals. And it really helps all your students. Yes, of course, your children with special needs. Yes, of course, your English language learners, but even your typically developing child is going to benefit from having these visuals plus the vocabulary. Oops, sorry. So having questions that you're going to be asking students is another thing that you might want to put into your slideshows beforehand. Our classes are only 25 minutes. Sometimes they're 25 minutes with a 5-minute in between two classes. So it's almost impossible to come up with a succinct, smart question to ask kids while you're also worrying about maybe you'll get disconnected and all those things that happen with remote classroom. So it's so important to put those questions in the slideshow while you're planning, while you're calm a couple of days before. That way you already have it in there. Keeping a logbook. I use my logbook for everything, including things like behavior. I will mark off any kids that I need to touch base with at home, kids that are maybe gifted and I need to touch base with them if they need more materials, kids that I need to call home, or if they're experiencing technical problems. I will make a quick column with what that problem is, and then I will be able to know in the future, after my many classes during the day, I'll be able to remember exactly which child I need to touch base with.
And this just goes along the lines with making sure that your objective is attainable. You want age-appropriate objectives. So this is an example of a kindergarten portrait, family portrait. So you want to make sure that you start from where they are. Look at the artwork they created and make sure your next week's lesson only goes up one step from where they started. So here you can see that the student understands pattern, understands how to fill in the entire space, but each family member is exactly the same size. So the next thing you would want to do is really look on identifying size relationships, working on placement in the space, and starting to define those lines and shapes that they're using. For example, you can see that they have hearts, which represent love. So what else can you show meaning with in shapes? So what you don't want to do is go too far ahead. So for example, you wouldn't want to start kindergarten students on gesture drawing after seeing an example such as this. They are doing fine just the way they are. They need to make sure that they feel successful. That's going to help with your behavior management by having those easy obtainable goals.
One thing I've had to notice during the last couple of weeks that we've been doing remote classroom and also in the spring is that even that you might be very aware of where students are in the brick and mortar classroom, but in the remote classroom that needs to be slowed down. Like the delivery of the material needs to be slowed down. The speed of it needs to be slowed down. And the primary reason for that is because they're in a place where they are distracted. They're at home. There are things going on in every single one of those kids' homes. There might be someone else working at the same time. There might be other siblings that are running around. They might have pets in their lap. So there's a lot of things going on. So I think the speed of it and the expectation, like Aletha said, for that class needs to be minimized a little bit more than what we're used to.
And one way to make sure that the students are on the same page as you, and that you are able to maintain the correct speed of your lesson without having everyone unmute their mic, is to ask them for a quick thumbs up. And so with each step that you're demonstrating, you say thumbs up when you're ready for the next step. And you can even make it more fun. I know what I do with my younger students especially is I'll say, I see 1 thumb, 2 thumb, 3 thumb, 4 thumb. Oh my goodness, we have 15 thumbs. We're ready for that next step. On the count of 3, get your pencil ready and we are going to draw. So just getting a visual cue without disrupting your precious 25 minutes is a really great way to keep everybody on task. And with that is routines. We have routines in the brick and mortar classroom. We need routines virtually. So Miriam and I have similar but different routines, but as long as the routine is the same, we start off with music. They know that we are then going to go to the objective. We are going to be positive in responding to our questions. We're going to have a large portion of our class be art making, and then we're going to end with kids sharing their artwork and positive feedback about their artwork. And you want to feel good about muting all students. Just like Miriam said, there are so many different family situations going on. And so by you muting every student, you're allowing that student to just hear you and the content, or muting other students while that one student is trying to share. So don't be afraid to use the mute all button. It benefits all students, and those students then understand what your expectation is. So one thing we're really lucky in our district, they're providing headphones. So if you can suggest to students and families to get a set of headphones for your students, they will feel more successful immediately because they're only listening to that lesson.
Visibility is a huge concern that we need to address when we're teaching remotely. If students are not able to see your demonstration, and a lot of our lesson, while we're working together, the majority of the time, it is at the same time as I'm demonstrating with a document camera. And so it's really important that you either make videos that show very clearly what it is you're doing, or that you have the right equipment that will be able to zoom in or show clearly what it is you're doing. Just having something behind you where you're drawing, or I would definitely recommend testing it out, like get another device and actually look at it and see if what you're doing is communicating visually the way that you want it to be. 70% work time is a must. Students are coming to your classroom to get to work, to be involved, to have hands-on experiences. So if that is not happening, that would be one reason why they're not engaged or they're not showing up to the remote classroom. So definitely the way that we do it is that concurrently to us demonstrating, the students are also working on their own projects, and we're verbally, while we're demonstrating with our hands, we're also verbally guiding them into creating their own projects alongside us. One huge recommendation is definitely having more than one device. In my case, I use a computer and an iPad. The iPad turns into my document camera. You may have a computer and a document camera, or two computers. Some people do have two computers and an iPad or document camera. So there's all kinds of combinations, but whatever works for you. I also have my phone in case of emergencies. I have had my computer fail on me while I was teaching remotely, and it was really fortunate that I was also logged into my iPads, in which case I just unmuted myself on my iPad and I was able to communicate with the kids. They did not even notice I was missing. So, you know, that I was on my other hand was busy trying to restart my computer. So it's very, very, very important to have two devices.